I mentioned at the end of like my Hunger Games review video that got approximately 16 views, that I would probably make a video comparing Attack on Titan to the Hunger Games. Now, you probably didn't watch that because, like I said, it got 16 views, but I'm gonna film it anyway because I can't stop thinking about it. But the Hunger Games and Attack on Titan are both like stories that very much just like suck my brain in, and I will sit there and just think about the in-depth character relationships and meanings of the story for ages. So why not actually just make a video filming it? So once again, I'm back here with my pink Trolls notebook that I got from Secret Santa, and I'm not really sure where to start. Do I start with the characters or do I start with the story? I think first, I guess we'll start off with the premise of both series. Now, in the Hunger Games, okay, for starters, this is spoilers for the entirety of the Attack on Titan manga, the entirety of basically all of the Hunger Games, including the prequel, sequel, like the entire series of Attack on Titan and the Hunger Games. If you haven't read them, if you haven't watched them, actually, if you haven't read them because the anime's not finished yet, so don't watch it. But yeah, the initial story in both Attack on Titan and the Hunger Games is something that is very initially appealing to a very large audience. In other words, it's a battle royale in the Hunger Games, a battle to the death. And then in Attack on Titan, you know, it's a monster killer anime. Wow, humans versus titans. Both stories are a battle for survival. And that is a kind of a simple conflict with, you know, high stakes, simple conflict, very, very gripping, you know. However, while the first Hunger Games book is, you know, outwardly very simple, like I mentioned in the previous video, like I know lots of like men who maybe loved the first Hunger Games book and then didn't like it as it went on because it got too involved in romance or whatever. Whereas Attack on Titan, the first season, is also, you know, outwardly very simple, a simple conflict of titans versus humans, which got a lot of people in, a lot of people interested, and people wrote it off as this shonen that was going to go on for hundreds and hundreds of episodes and just carry on like that forever. However, it simply did not, and neither did the Hunger Games. They both divulge, they go from a very simple story that tends to, for lack of a better word, gets increasingly more fucked up as things go on. Basically, the more that our main characters, so Katniss and Peter, and the Shiganshina trio of Eren, Mikasa and Armin, the more they find out about the world outside their districts, outside the walls, the more and more fucked up it gets. And the battle to stay alive becomes increasingly more complicated. It goes from being something very simple, like winning a battle royale, or slaying titans to stop them from eating you, to, oh my god, everyone's bad. Everyone's bad, everyone's evil, there is no one, yeah. There are very few people in this world that can understand the exact position that we are in as the main characters. And yeah, it's interesting. Like the beginnings of the story are quite similar, as well as in, okay, in order to sort of like compare things, we have to start comparing the characters. So Mikasa, you can sort of compare her to Katniss, first being a woman, but Mikasa and Katniss have both lost a parent. Well, Mikasa has actually lost both parents and Katniss has lost her father, so that's an immediate comparison. They're both very strong women, they're very good at fighting, though neither of them ever intended to be good at fighting, which is something I find interesting. Like Mikasa, she did not go out intending to be good and intending to kick ass, she just seemed to be naturally good at it because she's an Ackerman, and Katniss did not decide to get a 12 or whatever. Did she get 12 or 11? I can't remember. She did not intend to get a high score. She was just bloody good. She knew how to hunt. And then, but they weren't trained fighters initially. They just had an inept sort of skill, inept talent, but very much sort of lacked the desire to actually fight. And they also both volunteer to join a possibly deadly situation to save a loved one. So Katniss volunteers to take Prim's place in the Hunger Games, while Mikasa volunteers, I guess, to follow Erin into the Scouts in order to protect him. And she says that very explicitly, I'm gonna protect you, you're not going anywhere without me, kind of thing. Because she knows what he's like. He's gonna get himself killed somehow. And what does he do? He gets himself killed, doesn't he? Anyway, and both of them, they are literally only sort of, their motivation is to protect their loved one. They have no motivation to join the fight themselves, but they are just gonna do what, like, Mikasa does not want to go and fight Titans and worry about all that. She just wants to keep Erin safe. She wants to keep Armin safe. She wants to keep her friends and family safe, what's left of them. And Katniss did not intend to go out and win, necessarily. Like, she thought she was going to die. She presumed she was going to die. And, you know, she didn't go out there thinking, kill everyone. She just wanted to keep Prim safe another year. There's also the love triangle aspect of Katniss and Mikasa. Obviously Katniss, it's very obvious, it's Gale and Peter, and with Mikasa it's Erin and Jean. And it's basically one angry boy versus one angry boy she's known all her life and gets confused that she's related to, as in Gale is often confused for Katniss's cousin and Erin is confused for Mikasa's brother, and it's kind of, yeah. And then the smart, somewhat soft boy who can draw well, who can words well, and doesn't want to do this whole fighty, angry, very peaceful man, which is Jean and Peter. It's not entirely a one-for-one comparison, but like, you could definitely compare Jean and Peter, because in the OVA, Jean is shown to be, you know, very artistic before he joined the trainees, and Peter obviously is very good at decorating cakes, which means he's an amazing artist immediately. And both of them, they are not fighters. Jean joins the military in Attack on Titans because he wants to join the military police and have a cushy life in the interior. And this is the dream of his that comes up multiple times. Peter's just like, yeah, I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna die on my own terms. He accepted his death. And Jean is very much, you know, a charismatic sort of lead. Like, he's sort of referred to as being a sort of leader type. He's good with words, good with leading people. Peter is more, you know, he's a charismatic people man. We all know what Peter's like. Unfortunately, like, you can't do that one. Armin also comes into that sort of Peter comparison. While it's not necessarily a love triangle, he is sort of like, you know, part of the main trio. Like, if you count Katniss, Gale and Peter as the main trio, then you have, you know, the equivalent of Mikasa, Erin and Armin as the main trio. So you sort of, Armin is very much more, you know, the words man, more than Jean is, you know, he's the smart words man. He's the charisma 1000. And that neither of them want to fight, but they end up having to, and end up, you know, going from being that sort of weak, you kind of write him off as being weak and feeble. At least I did when I was like 10 and I read it. But he turns out to actually be really strong. And both Armin, Jean, Peter, they are all able to understand different points of view, not just their own. They are able to see the bigger picture to things, which helps them understand conflict. And neither of Jean or Peter push the sort of romance idea onto Katniss or Mikasa very much. It's more of just, oh, you're pretty. I'm just gonna hope you don't die. I'm gonna save your life. There's no sort of like, you know, with Gale, he is a bit sort of, he's not that pushy, but he's a little bit sort of sus. And they basically just, Peter and Armin are both ones that basically save situations by simply using their brains and being incredibly clever with what they say. And that's pretty much that comparison. And then we have the Erin and Gale. Obviously they are both very angry men, angry boys, but are the obvious love interest, apparently. You don't exactly... Erin and Gale don't exactly share like much like character development, but like the initial concept and sort of the relationship wise of Katniss, Gale, Erin and Mikasa kind of work. But they're sort of like, I guess, in a core of like anger and rebellion and revenge, and that like the way they process like their trauma of losing people and, you know, nearly dying is sort of similar, because they just become very angry, whereas like Mikasa and Armin, they are less angry and more, how do we get out of this situation? So I don't know why I like to pretend I'm holding a microphone, but I don't have one. However, Erin can also be compared to Katniss as well, because obviously they are both characters that, well, they're both the main characters, and they are both forced to be the head of a rebellion despite being a literal traumatized child. They are both like, wow, look, she is the Mockingjay, he's gonna save the world. And they're like 16, 15. And they were also trapped in that situation, because if they like back out of the situation, then their loved ones will die. It's very obvious in, you know, Snow and the Capitol would kill Katniss's loved ones, or so in some way, someone on either side would kill Katniss. Like, whether the sort of like Snow's like, hey, you're leading the rebellion, by like, you know, you've lit this spark. You need to keep playing dumb and like stop this happening, or we're gonna kill your family. At the same time, like, either whatever she does, whether like she decides to rebel or not to rebel, her family's just gonna end up in danger no matter what she does. And that's sort of the same with Erin, because he has the founding titan, and whether he does the rumbling or whether he doesn't do the rumbling, everything's gonna go incredibly wrong. Like, his family's gonna die, his friends are gonna die, or like he literally kills everyone and maybe even gets them killed in the process. Like, there's like, he couldn't, it's very much backed, both characters are sort of backed into a corner of what they can do. Sorry, I'm like, I've got a bit of a headache at the moment, so I'm like kind of failing at explaining things. But Erin literally, like, he cannot see a way out of the situation. That doesn't involve like his friends either getting killed very shortly, getting killed somewhat in the near future, or, you know, the whole Historia having to go through the same cycle of like parent eating their child, continuing the bloodline, and just it going on and on forever. He cannot see a way to break the cycle other than doing something that he doesn't want to do, which is letting people die. And also, like, they sort of, both characters go through the finding out that the grass is never greener on either side. Erin's like, oh yes, we need to get outside the walls, and when they finally do that, they realise that the world outside was so much worse than they could have ever imagined, and that this whole freedom thing is just so hard to actually find, because the more you look, the more you find is wrong. The more you find out you're not free and that you are forever tied to something, and you're forever, you know. And same with Katniss. She finally gets to District 13, and well, in the end, she kills Coin rather than Snow. So neither of the characters have a choice. They're active protagonists, but they are forced into being reactionary protagonists, if you know what I mean. Like, Erin and Katniss, they're both very proactive characters, but they are forced by like a choice that they make into being reactionary over the course of the story, to where they can't actively make many choices apart from the final choice sort of that they make. So it's yeah. You can also compare, as I said, to District 13. You can compare them to the Jaegerists, because they are sort of, right, they're not the good guys that you want them to think they are. Like, District 13 is like, yeah, we're good, we're not the capital. And the Jaegerists are like, yeah, we're good, we're not Mali. But it turns out they both suck. And, you know, you could compare the Rumbling to District 13 wanting to continue the cycle of violence by having a 76th Hunger Games, or bombing the children. Like just more unnecessary killings of innocents for no reason other than haha, fuck you. Other than just like revenge and hatred, it's just continuing the cycle. They do not want to break the cycle, they only want to continue to spread hatred and anger. And never, you think with revenge, you have to stop somewhere, otherwise it's like, oh, you killed my cat, oh, I don't know why we're doing, you punched my, you know, you end up trading blows forever. At some point you gotta be like, we gotta stop. They're both like cruel and strict sort of regimes, despite having to hate the oppression and the cruelty of the capital / Mali. Basically, you know, so they think they're good, but in reality they're doing exactly the same things that the people they claim to hate are also doing. They're just massive hypocrites, really. And both would rather let the world die, as long as they can live. Like, District 13, they leave the rest of the districts to suffer so that they survive, so there's not a massive nuclear war. They just say, nah, sod everyone else, we're fine. And the Jaegerists are very much the same, as in, the rest of the world can be completely crushed by the Rumbling, but we're gonna be okay. And they don't seem to realise that, no, you will be affected as well. The rest of the world is, you're all reliant on each other, and that's what, like, people need to realise, is that we don't all live in isolated Minecraft saves. We're all on the same planet. You could also, another comparison you can make is the couriers. So that's the District 1 and 2 and 4 in the books, tributes, and the warriors, which are the Eldians from Mali, such as Reiner, etc, etc. You can compare them together because they are essentially brainwashed children, who have only been trained to fight and kill and think that it's a great honour to die doing so. Or so the careers, you believe it's a great honour. They all volunteer to try and get in there and do honour to their district. And it's the same with the warriors. They all want to be the ones with the armbands, with the Titan powers, even though at the end of the day they're probably going to die. They're going to live an extra short life, and they're very close and aligned with their own oppressors. Like District 2 or District 1 were like the last to sort of be taken down during the rebellion in the Hunger Games, and like, it's that whole thing of like, oh, the chosen one, the chosen minority, not realizing that they are eventually also getting screwed over. Like Gabby's whole sort of thing of being like, she's like radicalized and then she's de-radicalized by the end of the story, and it's a very sort of powerful like message really of brainwashing children and like the effect of it on people. And yeah, so you can sort of pull that comparison of the career districts being okay with being mistreated because they feel like they're the chosen ones. They've been brainwashed into thinking it's an honour to be chosen to die. Because you see that all the time. You see that on Twitter. you see it on everything, with people thinking that, oh no, this hate group doesn't hate me because I'm special. I'm a special minority. And it's like, you realise they hate you too, right? Aligning with them is not going to do you any good. Which is very much about trans issues recently. Like, you do realise that if you'll be next, right? The hate's not going to stop. The hate's just going to continue until they've not just chopped the T off, they've chopped the B, the G, and the L. And anyway, could go on about that, but we shan't go on about that because I suck at words. And that's why I've decided to film a weird video essay thing. There's a sort of like a few like sort of random comparisons I could make, which is Erin and Mikasa sort of fantasizing about running away together, the same way that Gale and Katniss always do. Like, Katniss and Gale, they are constantly going back, like in Katniss's sort of monologues, going back to, oh, I should run away, I shouldn't run away, I should run away. And, you know, Erin and Mikasa have that sort of moment as well. It's kind of a what if we had done that, would this have prevented this? You never really know. But that's sort of a similar thing in their relationship. But ultimately, like, the situation made it impossible for that to happen. And then you also have the owl, which is Erin Kruger, and Plutarch Heavensby, being a double agent and breaking them out of the games, out of being a mindless titan. So breaks Katniss and the tributes out of the in Catching Fire, and then the owl sort of, you know, he gives Grisha the attack titan. He breaks the curse. He sort of allows them to eventually break out of the walls. So they're sort of, you know, double agent that breaks them out of something. And then of course you have Mikasa and Katniss having to cut Gale / Erin off to find peace and to stop further bloodshed. Mikasa obviously takes that quite literally and literally cuts his head off. But you know, there is I mentioned it in the other one, there is a line in the end of the Hunger Games where Mikasa's like, would me and Gale have ended up hitting each other if we had got married, if we had run away? And I think that kind of applies to Mikasa and Erin as well. I know there's this sort of phrase of, I would find you in every universe, but I feel like Erin and Mikasa are very much, I would lose you in every universe. In every universe you would end up, it would never work out. Even as much as they wanted to. Something, it's in the Lost Girls OVA book. I have the light novel version of it, and like, I can't quite remember it too well, but like Mikasa like talks to like Death or something. And he's like, yeah, that boy's always gonna die. He's always gonna leave you somehow. You're always gonna die. Like, you will never be together. He will always die. And I think that's probably quite true for them. Like, I don't think I could imagine a situation where Erin and Mikasa actually had a healthy relationship. Because they are trauma bonded together. Mikasa, like, pretty much the entire time has an unhealthy relationship with him. And Erin, someone wrote a whole thesis on Erin having antisocial personality disorder, and I feel like they are two characters that are sort of drawn together, but just, it never works out. It always goes wrong. Something. Which is why it's sort of implied at the end of the manga that Mikasa is with Jean, and I'm rolling with that because I feel like he's probably the only one that she could be with that would actually understand her. That they'd understand each other. Whereas she couldn't do like what Historia does, some random farmer. I don't think that would work with Mikasa because she's been through so much, and I feel like Jean is probably the only one, aside from Armin, that is ever gonna like understand that. And obviously Armin is with Annie. I have to say, I shipped Aru Annie since season 1, so thank you. Played the long game there, I did. But obviously, the sort of final comparison, I guess, little bit that I can think of was Mikasa and Katniss. They both deal the final blow, they both end the conflict. Katniss shoots coin, Mikasa kills Eren. They break the cycle of violence. They end the violence. And you'll be like, oh, what about the last chapter? It's like, oh, it's because the overall message was humanity sucks. Humanity doesn't know how to be nice to each other. And there's determined to continue the cycle of hatred forever and ever. That was the extra chapters. Anyway, so the only main characters in both series are the only ones who are sane and reasonable, as they have seen things from both perspectives. The Avengers, which is, you know, Eren, Mikasa, no, not Eren, Mikasa, Armin, Annie, Connie, Jean, that group, Raina, they are the tributes, so like Katniss, Finnick, etc., are the only ones who can truly understand what the worst and the best of humanity looks like and can see humanity in everyone. And they want to break the cycle, and in both instances they do, temporarily. It'll probably all go to shit in the Hunger Games as well, eventually. Who knows? You know, Katniss sort of says, you know, maybe it will work out this time, but it's humans. It never bloody works out. With some poor soul that decides they're going to do something. Yeah, that's kind of like the end of my the notes I wrote on this. I'm sure there's much more I could say, but at the moment I still have a headache and I'm quite thirsty, so I might just end it here. Maybe more things will end up in my Trolls notebook, which seems to be what I've been using. I don't know, maybe it will. Anyway, Mikasa does not deserve the hate, and I'm very happy that she has like a good life. Also, the manga ending is perfect and there's nothing wrong with it, and all these anime only ending people are scaring me, and I wish I never interacted with the fandom again. So now I'm just gonna pretend I've never seen any of these anime only ending weird people and go back to enjoying the manga and anime by myself. Also, once again, as per the Hunger Games, I am team read the manga and watch the anime, read the book and watch the film, because then you get to enjoy all of it. Just stop competing. Break the cycle of hate.